Hello students, how are you? I hope everything is fine and you all are keeping well by the grace of the Almighty. And as you belong to the 4th year honors, so 4th year honors, so I hope already you are in the adult group. So ask yourself, what is our duty, your duty at the present situation? Ask yourself, and I hope you will get the result. What should you do at the present context? So, I am not going to advise you, and I desire that you have already grown up and you have your own sense of responsibility. Today, I am going to discuss a very well discussed topic of William Butler Yeats, The Second Coming. Okay, this is a very famous, significant poem. Though the message of this poem is not complex, very simple, but the way it is treated, that is a little bit difficult part. So students, I hope you all must have the text in front of you. If you have any desire to understand the poem, please put the text in front of you, my dear students. William Butler Yeats, commonly known as W.B.Yeats, is widely considered to be one of the most significant literary figures of the 20th century. He belonged to the Protestant Anglo-Irish minority, and in that minority, most of the members love to consider themselves as the English, but Yeats was an exception. He undoubtedly affirmed in his Irish identity, and in most of his poems and plays, he dealt with Irish legends, Irish folklore, ballads, songs, etc. But he was also firm in adhering to his self-image, and it arose criticism of Yeats. He was accused of having elitism, but he took a concrete stand on this point, and unquestionably it earned him a great fame. Perhaps no other poet put Irish people and Ireland into their literary work rather than Yeats. That means he put more Irish culture, Irish people in his poems and plays. At the beginning of his career, he preferred to deal with the romantic atmosphere, romantic setting, romantic theme. But when he met John O'Leary, a famous Irish Republican. He motivated him to deal with Irish legends, myths, folklore, ballads, songs, and then from then on he was motivated much and started doing according to his advice. He was dedicated to Irish nationalism, but the extremism of the Irish Republicans, he just couldn't accept it, and so he was wavering between his dislike for the extremism of Irish nationalists as well as his respect for the rebels. So we find in a hesitant mood in this context, and you find it in the poem Easter 1960 life. It played a vital role, and he finally took his decision to came back to Ireland and settle there. And in his poetry, Yeats loved to picturize, loved to insert the complexity of life as well as human psychology. But he did it to that extent where a poet can understand using his imagination and thought and articulate it. And yet, for a reason, Yeats is very close to our heart, because in joint venture with Rabindranath Tagore, he contributed a lot in translating Gitanjali as song offerings. So, as Bangla speaking people, for us, he is very close to our heart. Now, students, we go to the text. Here you find an illustration of the second coming along with the poet and the poem, the second coming. And try to keep it in mind that when I go through the poem, I will stress on some words that you must keep in mind to understand the poem. Okay, students, and put the poem in a single slide. So I divided it into two parts: the first stanza and the second stanza in the same slide. Okay. Okay, students. Now I am going to read the poem. This is the illustration of the poem, the second coming. Okay. This is the poem, and now which I am going to read, that is divided into two parts, but this is the frame of the poem. Okay? Let's read the poem and try to understand the poem and try on the words I am going to emphasize. Please try to keep it in mind. Okay, students. The Second Coming by W.B.Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. The word gyre, falcon, falconer, center. Try to keep these words in your mind. Mere energy is loosed upon the world. The blood-tinged tide is loose and everywhere. This is a single line, everywhere and everywhere. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst, this is the single line, are full of passionate intensity. And the ceremony of innocence drowned conviction, the best passionate intensity. Try to keep the words in your mind, or you can underline these words in your poem. I am going to discuss it later on. In the first stanza of 8 lines, the poet describes a world of chaos, confusion, and pain. Now, come to the second stanza. It is of 14 lines. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out, when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi, keep it in mind, Spiritus Mundi, troubles my sight. Whenever, somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man. Spiritus Mundi, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, and it is found in the desert, and it troubles the poet's sight. Against blank and pitiless as the sun. Blank, pitiless. Underline these words. Is moving its slow thighs while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert bars. The darkness drops again. Darkness. Okay? And now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed into nightmare by a rocking treadle. 20 centuries, underline this word, nightmare, rocking treadle. And what? Love, peace, its hour come around at last. Crosses towards Bethlehem to be born. Rough peace, Bethlehem. Underline these words. Okay, students. In the second stanza of 14th line, we find the speaker receiving a vision of the future, but this vision replaces Jesus' heroic return, that is, his resurrection, with what seems to be the arrival of a grotesque beast. Instead of Jesus Christ, a beast is coming. Here we find distinct imagery, and it is associated with vivid description of the collapse of the society, and it is one of Yeats's most quoted poems. And this poem is written in 1919 and reprinted in 1921. That means soon after the end of First World War. The poem describes an intense, mysterious and powerful alternative to the Christian idea of the second coming, that is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ prophesied return to the earth as a savior. It's a superbly controlled, powerful, poetic comment, not only on the First World War and the decline of traditional standards. This is the poetic, here we find the poetic comment on the First World War and the decline of traditional standards. Along with that, we find his poetic comment on the 20th century man and the new invention of horror. And this Yeats says that this is the invention of human beings themselves. It is, and this poem is an illustration of Yeats's philosophy of history. Okay. In the first 8 lines of the poem, the poet neatly sums up the situation of the world after the First World War. I hope you have text in front of you. Please, students, flying around and around in a widening spiral, a falcon, here representing civilization, or Jesus Christ, can no longer hear the call of its owner. Falcon. This is Jesus Christ. Falcon is civilization, that is the world, and falconer is the civilization or the world, and falcon is the savior or Christ. Things are breaking down and their foundation is giving way. The very first 3 lines are very important. Turning in the wider desire. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. And absolute destruction and lawlessness have spread across the world, and so has the tidal wave darkened by blood. All the rituals of innocence have been swallowed by this tide. The best people are not motivated to act. but the worst people are full of passion and intensity. That is, here we find an atmosphere of fanaticism and violence has overtaken everything. We find an atmosphere of violence and fanaticism, and this atmosphere overshadows everything, where the best people are not motivated to work, but the worst people are full of enthusiasm. In the remaining 14 lines of the poem, some kind of revelation has to happen soon, and the second coming itself must be close. Excitedly, the speaker explains the second coming. But just as the speaker says this, a vision comes to the speaker from the world's collective unconscious. He sees a barren desert land. Instead of the life, instead of the world full of lively things, he here sees a barren desert land where a creature with a man's head and a lion's body is coming to life out of spiritus mundi. What is that? A collection of images which we find repeatedly in myth and legend. This phoenix-like figure's expression is like the sun, empty and without pity. Its legs are moving slowly, and all around it fly the shadows of disturbed desert birds. Everything becomes dark again, but the speaker knows something new. 2000 years of calm, C-A-L-M, calm and quiet, have been disrupted by the shaking of a cradle. The speaker asks, what beast, whose time has finally come? It is dragging itself towards Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. Where it is dragging itself towards Bethlehem, where it will be born. The impression gathered from the whole spectacle is that, please try to understand that, 20 centuries of Christianity are about to give way to an antithetical civilization in which the controlling authority may be cruel and more terrifying. People are expecting for the second coming, that is a resurrection of Jesus Christ, who will come and save the human being, and he will save the person who are worthy to be saved. But instead of that, the poet has found that an creature like this that I have explained above is proceeding towards Bethlehem to be born. and it says that the coming authority will be cruel and most terrifying. This is the analysis of the poem. But if you understand it, you have to understand, you have to read it and sort out the things that are very important here. And now come to the critical comments of this poem. In this poem, Yeats deals with the themes of civilization, chaos and conflict, morality and Christianity. It represents a nightmarish scenario as the speaker describes human beings increasing loss of control and tendency towards violence and anarchy. Surreal images. What is surreal? I hope you are familiar with these things, especially the image of Spiritus Mundi that is found in the desert. This is a surreal image. This images that we find in this poem creates an unsettling atmosphere that suggests a world that is on the verge of destruction. That means the poet says that here we find people's loss of faith and tendency towards violence and anarchy, and that's why people are on the verge of, on the brink of destruction. Though the poem has metaphorical complexity, it has a relatively simple message. What is that message? The time is up for humanity, and that civilization, as we know, is about to be undone. He thought it 100 years ago. Time is up for humanity, and the civilization, as we know, is about to undone. First World War was a global catastrophe that massacred, killed millions of people. And it is not surprising that the poem paints a bleak, a dark picture of humanity and suggests that a sense of progress and order of civilization is only an illusion. This is only our imagination that the human beings are going towards the progress and order. Of course, this is the notion of the poet W.B.Yeats. With the above in mind, we find challenging imagery starts to make more sense in the first stanza. Please try to understand this falcon and falconer and gyre. I am going to describe it here. The falconer, representing humanity's attempt to control its world, has lost its falcon in the turning gyre. Here the image gyre is used to symbolize grand, sweeping, historical movement as a kind of spiral. That is, the gyre is the historical movement that we find in different ages. these first three lines could also suggest how the modern world has distanced people from nature, represented here by the falcon. Falcon and falconer, this represents more than one thing. Okay, students? Whatever connection was once linked the metaphorical falcon and the falconer, the poet believes that it has broken now and the whole human world is spiraling into chaos and confusion. This is a picture of a dark, bleak world. There is no ray of hope to be out of it. The poem suggests that though humanity might have looked that it was making progress over the 20 centuries, the words that I have put within inverted commas, these are taken from your text. Over the past 20 centuries, though seemingly ever increasing knowledge and scientific development, but First World War proved people to be capable of self-destruction as ever. Anarchy was loosed upon the world, along with the tides of blood. Innocence was just a ceremony, now drowned. The best people lacked conviction, it suggests. They are not bothering to do anything about the nightmarish reality, while the worst people seem excited and eager for destruction. The current state of the world proves that the center, that is the foundation of society, was never very strong. It is the belief of the poet. Whether the poem means that humanity has lost its way or never knew it to begin with is unclear. The poet himself doesn't make it clear in the poem that once the center was very strong and now it is on the verge of ruin. That is not clear in the poem, but the promises of modern society. Promises are safety, security, human dignity. All these things have proven empty. In their place, a horrific creature has emerged, a grotesque perversion of the second coming promised by Christianity, during which Jesus Christ is supposed to return to the earth to invite true believers to heaven. The second coming is clearly not Jesus Christ, but instead a rough beast that humanity itself has woken up. And humanity here seems to get more civilized. It seems that civilization has progressed a lot in the last 2000 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. But what is the reality? The reality is that, according to the poet, people have been sowing the seeds of their own destruction. This rough beast is now pitilessly plotting, stepping towards the birthplace of Jesus, likely in order to usher in a new age of darkness and nightmare. The words that I have put in inverted commas, these are taken from your text. Okay. The second coming offers an unsettling question on Christian morality. It questions the resurrection, but the poet does not give us a concrete solution. That's why the poem offers an unsettling question on Christian morality. According to the Bible, when humanity reaches its end, when it will reach its end, when there will be an era of complete war, famine, destruction, hatred, etc. Just at that time, Jesus Christ will return to earth to save the people who were worthy to be saved. The poet believes that as humanity has lost all senses of morality, the end times are already happening. He uttered this 100 years ago in 1919. The poem suggests that no one, not even Jesus, can remedy this bleak reality. The biblical book of Revelation predicts that Jesus will come to save those who were worthy to be saved. This is the poem that offers no comfort. There is no mistake that this is a bleak vision of the future of mankind. Morality is presented as a kind of collective dream that is now turning into nightmare. Okay, students, I hope you have understood the poem. If you have any question regarding this, of course you have question in mind, because this is not an easy poem, though it is a very short poem, and I will ask you to know what does Yeats mean by falcon, by falconer, by sire, by center, and about the beast Spiritus Mundi, and this is your homework. Okay? What is falcon? What is falconer? What does sire mean? What is Spiritus Mundi here? Okay, students, I have almost towards the end of my class, and I hope you have understood it, and please, this is a very, very well discussed topic of W.B.Yeats, and we love to ask you questions from Yeats, and the poem that perhaps comes in our first preference is the second coming. So, please students, read the text, and you can answer the question that I have given you in the comment box, so that I can check and I can answer, I can correct it. Okay? And hope you all the very best. Stay well. stay blessed, and ask yourself, please ask yourself, alone with your study, what is your duty at the present context. So, hope to meet you soon again, and hope to come to the natural atmosphere in the classroom. Hope to meet you in the classroom within the shortest possible time. Till then, stay safe, stay alert, and perform your duties towards yourself, towards your family, towards your society, and towards the whole mankind. Okay? Thank you, students. And till then, goodbye to all of you. See you again. Thank you.